Hi guys, I made an update for my splatter filter. I'm going to show it on some scanned materials. This one comes from TextureHaven, from texturehaven.com, and they have a lot of different scans, all free to use as well. And the updates in the splatter input also now have a flip normal option. So if you get these shimmering artifacts where you think, hey, something's wrong, you can also check out your normal map to be sure. And you should see some strange changes in direction. And if we invert the normal from the input, it should be better. But every now and then you get a material that has normal variation, which kind of makes it look like it might be inverted even though it isn't. But if we go back to our 3D view, this looks a lot better than this. Some of the changes are aside from the normal inversion, of course, that we now have a height balance slider. You can tweak the amount of displacement basically that you want baked in your texture. The ambient occlusion was inverted, so now if you use input, it actually uses the input. Same for the refine height. Now it only applies if you turn it on. And the edge feathering has changed a bit as well. It should be a bit faster, but also a bit more accurate, where it takes into account all the islands. And the debug splat view has changed as well, making it a bit more readable basically. It's easy to see what it does now as well. So if we go to a lower range and disable the edge feathering, you'll see it's kind of hard in this view. So if we go back to the base color, if we turn it on, the edges are slightly feathered. And I'm going to show you in a different material why that's cool. So if we drag in this one, this is a Quixel Megascan. It takes a bit to load since it's 8K JPEGs. The TextureHaven ones are PNGs and also in different resolutions. So you can mix and match there quite easily already. There we go. So if I disable the splatter input, you can see the original, really cool material, but it doesn't tile that well. It is seamless, but after a couple of tiles you'll see that it repeats quite obviously. And that's where this filter comes in handy. We can also change it from generated height to input height. Input height typically has a bit more definition, since the generated height bases it off of normal instead of the actual depth information. But for the way this filter splatters it, sometimes it's actually preferable to generate your height to get more variation. If we look at this, here you can actually see how the filter is working. So we have this brown splat, and underneath is a blue splat with some of the higher parts that are more prevalent poke through. And that's kind of how it does it everywhere. And sometimes you do get intersections. Let's find one. We can pick this one where you have the stones next to each other. If we disable the splat edge feather, you'll see that it gives you a more pixelated sharp edge. We disable the debug. With the way scans work, the colors are typically kind of muted, as in not super vibrant. So it blends well together organically. But if you turn on the edge feather, it's just a bit more subtle. I hope this effect carries through on the YouTube compression, but it should help. Then the sharpen filter to make it pop is also updated. Well, not necessarily updated in terms of the logic, but the defaults are a bit more aggressive, just so it's more visible to see what it's doing. Sorry, more easy to see what it's doing. And it also applies this on the roughness. So if we turn it off, you'll see that it's a bit more muted. And if we turn it on, it gives you a bit more pop. And one of the use cases would be if you have a lower resolution texture in your game engine because for some reasons you can't use a higher resolution texture, but you still want to make it pop a bit, then you can use the sharpen filter to just squeeze a bit more detail from it. The original defaults were 1 and 0.5, I think, or even half for both values. And the intensity slider looks it works as well. You don't want to deep fry it, of course, but it's nice to be able to get the extra detail. Let's look at another scan. Let's see. This one is nice as well from Quixel, and afterwards we'll do the TextureHaven brown mud rocks, which is one of my favorite ones in this set. What I actually did for this was importing the bitmaps, assigning the correct channel, like normal for normal, roughness for roughness, and then saving it as a material. So for the video I could easily just drag them in. And again, the Quixel ones take a bit longer to compute since they're 8K. So here's the original. Really lovely material, lovely detail in there. But if you want to tile it more, now it looks kind of, I don't want to say random, but a bit too copied around. Kind of like if you're using a clone stamp tool or something like that. So you can change the seed to see if that helps. Well, in this case, we get some sharp edges due to the height splat. But here we go. This is better already. And then we can also, of course, change the rotation. You can disable rotation altogether to get more of a directional thing going on. You can even decide to not use it all the way. But I'm actually gonna. And then just rotate it like this. This might be one of the good use cases to balance the height slightly, lower it a little bit. Use the input ambient occlusion, make it pop a bit. Increase the sharpen a bit. Then you have a brand new material you can tile over larger surfaces. And you can go from like big roots to forest ground almost, where everything is just a twig. So let's put in one more. It's a lovely material on its own already. And the cool thing is, if you save this after using the splatter as a new material, you can also use the additional materials you already have or want to make on top of it to make even more varied materials. This might be a case where the normal is inverted. No. Well, there's also variations in roughness, some more wet areas. I think that might be the culprit. So there we go. Update to the splatter input. And it works the same as before, just some tweaks, some additions. And I wanted to show you how this works with scans as well. So I hope you guys enjoy it. This will be on ArtStation very shortly as a free update for everyone who purchased it. If you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to get in touch. And any and all feedback is appreciated. Bye!